This is an interview conducted for GermanStudies.ca with Dr. Kurt Huebner, Chair for German and European Studies at the University of British Columbia and Director of the Institute for European Studies in Vancouver. Hello, Dr. Huebner. Looking back to 1989, what do you think about the developments?
Yeah, that's a very complex question and needs a bit of elaboration. As somebody who has been very skeptical in economic terms, but very supportive at the time in political terms, from the very, very beginning, this is somehow bitter experience to get mostly confirmed by all the historical experiences since 1989. At a time in early 1990, that is only a couple of months after the fall of the wall, a group of academics with very differing political views came up with an analysis that very much made the argument that a chosen transformation rate between the Deutschmark, the former currency of West Germany, and the mark of the GDR, cries for economic disaster in the East. It was very clear from the onset that the chosen rate was a political rate that favored consumers, who are also voters, as we know, and will punish producers that unfortunately also are voters. Playing with the short-term horizon and time preferences of consumers turned out to be a successful strategy in electoral terms. However, it created and contributed a lot of havoc in economic terms. Now, given the huge gap in productivity measured as output per hour between West Germany and the former GDR, it was clear that East Germany's manufacturing sector, as well as its charitable service sector, will not any longer be competitive given the chosen more or less one-to-one transformation rate. So this was the first kind of problem and illusion. It turned out that it has long-term consequences we can observe until today. Let me turn to a second dimension. There was a kind of collective illusion at a time. The first president of the privatization agency, the so-called Treuhandanstalt, estimated the value of the GDR economy of about 600 billion Deutschmark. When the official privatization process was closed in 1994, the Treuhandanstalt had a loss of about 270 billion Deutschmark in their books. So what seemed to be a very successful market enterprise turned out into a huge economic disaster, at least in terms of financing this little part of German unification. The immediate crisis after 1990 until about 1992, 1993 was deep, it was devastating, and it was disillusioning for many, if not most, of the citizens of the Neue Laender. As I tried to explain, the transformation crisis had its roots in a combination of political failure as well as of market failure. But then it was also driven by the state of the former GDR economy. This economy was really rotten and very run down. It was not a bit prepared to team up with the relatively far advanced market economy of Western Germany. The crisis provoked fundamental economic support programs, as we know, a huge transfer over a period of close to 20 years, and it will go on in the next 5 to 6 years from west to the east. It also includes substantial transfers of money from the European Commission. So things have a bit improved in the last 20 years, there's no doubt about it. Let me try to explain where we are in 2009. In a recent summary study, Karl Brenke and Klaus Zimmermann from the DEW in Berlin asked whether the bottle, means the Neue Laender, would be 1/3 empty or 2/3 full. And indeed, it's a question of perspective to make a better evaluation of the situation we are in. The phrase I just mentioned one-third full or one-third empty or two-third full, refers mainly to the fact that in terms of labor productivity, and that's a very essential economic category, again measured as output per hour, the Neue Laender without Berlin is slightly above 71% of the level of West Germany. Actually, Berlin is a very special case, as the city experienced on average a strong reduction of income per head. In 2008, those are the latest figures for Berlin, the income per head was back to the level of the mid-1990s. So this city, the capital of Germany, has experienced a strong downturn in economic terms. However, given the gap in labor productivity, this improvement in unit labor costs only took place due to the fact that wages per hour were even below the growth rate of productivity in Eastern Germany. In other words, in the last 10 years or so, East Germany has moved towards a low-wage economy. Weak trade unions and a weak industrial base made many sectors only survive due to strong wage concessions on the side of employees. It should also be stressed that until today, the average unemployment rate in the East is far above the rate in the West. The lower utilization rate of skills also helps explaining the relatively slow speed of catch-up of the Neue Länder. On the other side, average household incomes in the East are close to those in the West. This is due to the flow of rather significant amounts of transfer payments to the East. As long as those transfers are getting broad political support, East Germany's citizens are actually not too bad off. So living in a kind of situation where household incomes are pretty equal to Western levels, at the same time, the perspectives for the future in terms of jobs, of economic security, are not as good as in the West. There is this gap still existing until today. So 20 years after the fall of the wall, we are finding a pretty divided situation. In some areas, we see a lot of successes, definitely in terms of political democracy, stability in all those areas. On the other side, there's still an existing huge gap in economic terms, and the future will show whether it needs another generation to really make this catch up that was promised at the very outset of German unification happen. Thank you.